Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot, and welcome to the next flight in the Airbus A321neo by Builds in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. Today we're going to fly from Munich to Oslo for about a 2-hour flight. Departing Munich in icing conditions, we will have to de-ice our aircraft on the way out, as we can see that there is quite a bit of ice already located on the front of the plane, also some on the tail plane over here. But for now, let's go right into our cockpit and we are going to start our setup for our flight. So basics first, the engine masters are off, mode selector norm, weather radar is off, landing gear lever down, wipers are off, and then we can turn on the batteries, which both have more than 25.5 volts, and the external power down here as well. With that now running, the aircraft is going to start its boot up process, so we can make good use of that time to go up into the dashboard and download our flight plan from SimBrief. So Lufthansa 1 X-Ray Alpha today, and we can see the weather down here in Munich really isn't all that good. It's freezing conditions down here, and over in Oslo we do have some broken clouds and 600 feet, so not all that good either, but at least no freezing conditions. So looking into the weather forecast from our flight plan, we can see that the weather conditions in Munich are basically going to stay as bad as they are for now, so we filed a departure alternate at Stuttgart, which features CAV-OK conditions. Over in Oslo, the day is going to stay at low overcasts, some gusty winds, so overall not exactly the best weather conditions for a flight, but acceptable means. Now, for our alternates, we've got Trondheim as our primary, and they do have a little bit of wind forecast. However, the general weather conditions are very good, so Trondheim is an acceptable and fair alternate. So based on this, we can make a decision on our fuel, and looking at the table, they say 7.5 is the minimum take of fuel, 200 taxi. Let's double the taxi because of the expected de-icing to 400 kilos, so if we depart with 7,900 kilos of fuel, we should be good to go. So let's go over onto the payload page. We're going to import our SimBrief numbers over here, and then we can change the fuel to 7,900 kilos, apply that and make it an instant loadout, and here we go. So, takeoff calculation, let's go ahead and synchronize that up. We are going to shorten down the takeoff run a little bit. Also, let's make sure that we do have the on-screen keyboard available. Enable that one, thank you. And then, let's have a look. Takeoff run available is going to be 3,800 meters today. Like that. We'll calculate a wet surface to be on the safe side here. For the wind, let's make it a tailwind of 5 knots, so 260 at 5. And then takeoff weight. So our live gross weight is 77.5 or 77.6. Why is it increasing? Are we supposed to burn fuel and not gain any? Well, don't ask me. In any case, let's make it 77.6 tons. So weight 77600. Config 2, air conditioning off, anti-ice on, toga no. And hit calculate. So the performance limited weight is 97.2 tons, so we know we can take off. We have some rather high speed, but that is fine. Alright, then why do we have an ice detected engine anti-ice on? No. Not at the gate. That is a bug, my friends. That is a definite bug. In any case, the IRSs can come on. Let's do the APU fire test and get the APU running. So, looks good. APU start and start. When the APU is running, we'll go for air conditioning straight away so that we can warm it up a little bit. If we look at the Ecam, we can see only 5 degrees in the cabin. That's really a little too cold for my taste. Okay, with that out of the way though, I'd say we can turn on the lights, make sure that the park and brake is set for our walk around, and then We do have sufficient oxygen on board. We do have sufficient hydraulic quantity on board. We do have to turn on our FADEX in order to check for the oil quantity. And we do have sufficient oil on board. Okay. So the flaps are retracted, the spoilers are retracted. Then let's go ahead and check the brakes. So parking brake is released. Then let's do our brake application. 1000 psi, looking good. Parking brake set. And with that out of the way, let's go ahead and get out for our walk around. So, in these weather conditions over here, one of the important aspects of our walk around is to figure out if any de-icing or anti-icing is needed. Now, we know pretty surely already that we will need it, but nonetheless, let's make it a proper walk around and verify. So, there's quite a bit of ice here on the nose cone of the aircraft, that's for sure. And it almost reaches into the protected area for our static ports. That is a problem, because we can't really de-ice this. In the worst case, the engineers will have to come and scrape the ice off the static ports. In any case, we can see quite a bit of icing on the aircraft over here. The probes are looking good though on the sides. Over here everything is good as well. So let's go on to the wings, and over here we need to have an especially good look at the underside of the wings, because any cold fuel that might still be in there from a previous flight might freeze over and cause additional ice buildup on the lower side of the wings down here. Likewise, at the engines we also have to have a good look behind the fan blades, so both the front and the back of the fan blade, to see if any ice might have formed over there, which might require a fan blade de-icing. However, it looks like today there is no ice on the engines, so let's move along the wing, and I can't spot anything over here as well. Overall, good condition. And then going back to our main wheels, look like they are a little bit flat at the moment. I might need a little bit of air soon, so it's fine for now, but at the end of the day we're probably going to write that down in the logbook, so that they pump those wheels up again. So, looking at the tailplane, we definitely have ice on here, so we will need to de-ice the aircraft over here, that's for sure. Okay. The APU seems to be running already, as we can see from the exhaust, which is wonderful. So then, off to the left-hand wing, and once we've verified our technical status of the aircraft over here, then we can go back into the cockpit to start our flight preparation. So, everything looks good on the landing gear, the back of the engine is good as well, and then let's go ahead and move along. So, I don't see any icing anywhere over here. This is really interesting. We have icing on the front and the back of the aircraft, but we don't have anything on the wings. That is not something that you would typically see. Normally it's everything iced up, and the only question is the engine iced up? Which happens rather... well, which happens rather rare, to be honest, but... well, so, we can say our aircraft is in a good condition over here. You can definitely remove this ice detected here. Shouldn't even be running. But what we can do, probe window heat on, since we've got freezing conditions outside, and most importantly the APU bleed is gonna come on as well. Then let's go ahead and go over our panel, getting everything ready over here. And fueling should be completed, so we can set everything up. So, engine fire tests. So, cargo heat. I don't think we actually need any today, so let's just go ahead and turn that off again. Unless we get any livestock with a load sheet, but we'll find that out when the time has come. Alright, so over to the main panel. Let's update the weather and check what the latest QNH is. 1027. And 1027, here it is. So over here everything looking good. It's the 1st of December 2024. Then we wanna listen to VHF 1 and 2. We're gonna tune 1228 on VHF 1 and 1215 on VHF 2. Like that, listen to both. Also listen to the intercom, please. Weather radar stays off for the time being. Down here everything's set. No physical transponder here anymore. It's integrated into the radio panels now. Even though I have to say it kind of strikes me every time I look down here, and it just feels strange. It just feels strange. Okay, so above is selected, altitude reporting can go on, and the transponder stays on standby, TCAS remains off for the time being, very good. So then let's go into our FMS and start our setup, start our setup down here. We can also start to prepare our charts already, so let's select Munich, 8 left, airport charts, and we need the general airport start and the parking stands east. And then we need the departures, which are going to be the SIDS Roma 8 left. And the ones to the north with the RNAV overlay. Let's verify that this is the correct chart indeed. What do we have here? Give me. And we are going via input. Okay, then we need the other chart, not this one. It's gonna be this one, maybe. Well, let's have a look. Let's load up the other one. Yeah, that one's the input departure. Perfect. So we don't need this, but only this. Very good. Okay, let's go ahead. Come on, give me my table. No? No. Okay. No table for us. So, nothing over here it seems. Well then, data, aircraft status. A321-200, LEAP engine, current database, and any previous waypoints are deleted. So, in its data request, here we are, but the call sign is wrong. Lufthansa 1 X-Ray Alpha. Okay, flight plan, Munich, departure, 8 left, and we go via the input 3 Quebec departure. For the arrival into Oslo, we are planned on 19 left for the time being. Let's select that, ILS 19 left, and we need the Lunep 4 Mike arrival. Here it is, Lunep 4 Mike, and I think we come in via Titla, but let's find out. Well, it actually takes us all the way to the end, doesn't it? Okay. Happy with that for the time being. Then let's cross-check our entries. So, Munich 8 left, and we go straight ahead to Delta Mike 070 or 1900, whichever is later. Left turn Delta Mike 073, and thereafter Delta Mike 065, which has a 250 knot restriction in here, and then on towards input. And that's exactly what we have. That discount shouldn't be there in the first place. And then, for the emergency, some... I'm a little bit too lazy to create a properly named waypoint here, so I'll just do it this way. Okay, holding over there, and then we can do an immediate return to Munich if needed. So let's insert that together with the ILS approach. Insert, here we go. So now onto the primary flight plan, where we are going to enter the same thing. On the fix info page, that GSX panel is annoying, sometimes blocking my click spots. Here we go, no nav 8 and Munich 08 left going into here, and then onto the init pages. So, zero fuel weight 71.1. So load that up, 7.9, and then we can have a look at the fuel figures, which we find down here. So contingency 0.3, alternate 1.8, final 1.1. So 0.3, 1.8 and 1.1, very good. So wind component is expected as a tailwind of 6 knots. And then we can also just go ahead and request the wind data uplink over here. And now over to our takeoff data. So that's conv 2 takeoff at 52 degrees flex. So 2 and 52 degrees. And the takeoff speeds for this one are going to be 140, 157, 159. Like that. Reduction acceleration 1000 above the ground. Engine out acceleration 3000 above the ground. We can enter 200 meters of takeoff shift. Don't need to pre-select anything, and that's our FMS setup completed for the time. Okay, value disagree, that's not going to be a problem just yet. So initial climb to flight level 70, and then we've got a QNH of 1027. We want the constraints, we want the VORs, and the same on the other end side. And the flight director, of course. And last but not least, we can go down here and check our oxygen masks, which don't seem simulated. Okay, well then we don't check our oxygen masks. Okay, and that's our setup completed for the time being. So let's go ahead and do our departure briefing, please. Okay, Munich runway 8 left, input 3 Quebec departure, climbing level 70, MSA 3700 and extra fuel and time. Let's see what we've got down here. 12 minutes. Very good. No hotspots for the taxi. Stop margin rejected takeoff should be more than enough. Engine outset straight at 25 miles, which I've programmed as the PVD01 point, and which we can see over here via the fix page as well. If we need to come back to Munich, then we can do that. 8 left is already programmed in the flight plan, and looking at the plan over here, our takeoff weight should be below the maximum landing weight, so we can do an immediate re-landing if needed. In terms of specials and non-standards, we need to de-ice the aircraft today. Remember that while we can use engine anti-ice on the ground, we should not use wing anti-ice, since we intend to de-ice the aircraft at the runway. And that's it. So, in terms of threats for this one, the main threat I see is icing. Now let's just take a second to discuss what we're going to do in case we have a blocked pitot tube on our takeoff due to icing. Now, first of all, we are mitigating against that. I have already turned on the probe and window heat, but should it happen and should we get an unreliable airspeed on the takeoff, immediately we are going to apply thrust toga, rotate to 15 degrees once we are passing VR, and something we can do over here to determine our speed a little bit more accurately, since we have almost calm winds. We have a VR of 157, V2 159. We can use the ground speed gauge to judge those airspeeds. Not entirely accurately, but it is one source of information that we have available to us. When we reach the acceleration altitude, we're going to pitch down to 10 degrees and reduce the thrust into climb thrust. And once we are at the MSA, we are going to level off following the table on the QRH. Make sure that the speed brakes are retracted, the flaps stay in position, the landing gear is retracted as soon as we have a positive rate of climb. Now, if all of that happens, we do have the backup speed scale button down here, which we can use. And we can also use our GPS altitude, which we can either find on the GPS monitor page over here, or which is automatically going to show on the primary flight display if the backup speed and altitude function is enabled. Even though I'm not 100% sure if it is simulated, so we've always got to keep that in mind. Right, and that's the main threat I have for this departure. Do you have anything else? No. Perfect. Then let's go ahead with the cockpit preparation checklist. Gear pins and covers removed. Fuel quantity 7,940 kilograms balanced. Seatbelts on. ADIRS. nav. Barrel ref. QNH 1027. Cockpit preparation checklist complete. Alright, let's say hello to our guests. Liebe Fluggäste, einen wunderschönen guten Tag aus dem Cockpit. Hier spricht Ihr Kapitän. Mein Name ist der Manuel. Im Namen der Lufthansa darf ich Sie an Bord herzlich von unserem Flug 2452 nach Oslo begrüßen. Flugzeit heute mit 1 Stunde 55 berechnet in einer Reiseflughöhe von etwa 11.000 Metern. Wir bedanken uns herzlich, dass Sie heute unsere Gäste sind. Wie Sie sicherlich gemerkt haben, ist es draußen ein wenig kalt. Wir werden unser Flugzeug daher vor dem Abflug enteisen müssen. Das geschieht an der Landebahn und dabei werden uns Flüssigkeiten auf die Tragflügel gesprüht. Das ist ganz normal und dient dazu, das Flugzeug vor Eisbildung zu schützen. Wir bedanken uns, dass Sie heute unsere Gäste sind. Lehnen Sie sich zurück und genießen Sie den Flug mit uns. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning from the flight deck. This is your captain speaking. My name is Emmanuel. In the name of Lufthansa, I would like to welcome you aboard flight 2452 towards Oslo Gardermoen. Today's flight time has been calculated at 1 hour and 55 minutes at a cruising altitude of 11,000 meters. Before our departure, we will have to de-ice the aircraft. That is going to happen at the runway, and it is totally normal that some fluid will be sprayed onto our wings. This happens in order to protect the wings from any further ice buildup. We would like to thank you very much for being our guests. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the flight with us. And if there is anything we can do for you to make it more enjoyable, please do not hesitate to ask any of our charming cabin crew. Okay, passengers are dealt with. Ground power can already be disconnected. Then let's get GSX to start prepare ourselves for the pushback, please. So, do you request de-icing treatment? No, not at the gate. We'll do it later on at the runway. Okay, so let's have a look at the latest payload. We're at 76.5 growth, 0 fuel, 68.6. So that's quite a bit lighter than what was forecast. And the growth rate of zero fuel CG 31.7. Okay, takeoff weight 76.4. Now I have a feeling that's pretty correct. Okay, perfect. I was just about to say I have a feeling that we might see some additional growth weight due to the weight of the ice there, but never mind then. Okay, let's recalculate the takeoff data. Air conditioning off, anti-ice on, the takeoff weight 76,400 is in there and looking good. So let's calculate that. And looks pretty much unchanged. Stabilizer trim 0.2 down. So down 0.2 and the rest is unchanged. Perfect. Okay, wonderful. Then the doors are closed. The cockpit door is closed as well. So it's going to be a pushback facing north onto Echo 2. So, transponder is coming on. Before start checklist, please. Park and brake. Set. Takeoff speeds and thrust. V1 140, VR 157, V2 159, flex 52. Windows. Closed. Beacon on. Before start checklist complete. Ground from flight deck. Go ahead. So please confirm all doors and hatches are closed, ground equipment is removed, and the bypass pin is installed. That's all confirmed. Okay, clear to push, face north, Echo 2, parking, brake, released. Start the push, stand by for engine start. Right, and off we go. In a second, actually. It seems they still have the chocks in position. Let's get rid of those. And now our parking brake is released. So, are you going to start the pushback? Yes, wonderful. Okay, did we miss anything? Is there anything else we could have done? Nope. Okay. I do agree. But it's always good to ask. Because you can never know for certain. Okay, so start sequence is going to be 2 then 1 in that sequence. And we'll start engine 2 now. Engine 2 start. We have a good start on 2, starting 1. Clear 1. Okay, engine 1 start. So, this is looking good, but the engine seemed to be turning a little bit quick. Did it once again delete my throttle settings? Nope. Okay, seems fine. So, push complete, set parking brakes. Parking brake set. So, number 1 is starting up. Okay, looks like we have 2 good engine start. Then you're clear to disconnect. Show me the pin on the right hand side, please, and have a wonderful day. Bye bye. Okay, there comes the tuck. Where is the ramp agent? Okay, there she is, and she's holding the pin in her hands. Excellent. So, after start procedures, keep the flaps retracted, please. After start checklist, anti-ice, engine anti-ice on, ecam status, checked, pitch trim, 20, what is it, actually 32% set, and rudder trim, neutral, after start checklist complete. Okay, no flight control track until we have anti-iced the aircraft, so brake released, let's go. De-icing is going to happen at the holding point. Brake check, pressure 0. So taxi is going to be straight out and then to the left. Let's go ahead and have a look at that on the chart. So we are standing over here, straight ahead, Echo 2, Delta 1, November 3. And then all the way to the de-icing area 3 north. What is my chart doing? Moving without my command. Alright, so from November 3 we turn onto November, all the way up here to de-icing area 3 north. So 10 knots going into the turn, over to the left. The apron entry area system in Munich works the way that you are normally going to use the entry that is closest to your departure end of runway. So for us that means turning over here onto November 3. Now, as we found out on our 747 flight into Munich, the standard Munich scenery has some problems with the taxiway bridges, where you simply fall through and onto the roads. Luckily, that is not the case with the WinWings Munich scenery, which I'm using for today's flight. As you can see, no problem taxiing over the bridges on this one. Okay, clear on the right side and clear on the left side. So off to the left, on to November. Okay, and then all the way to the end. Now let's see if we can get GSX for de-icing, please. So, de-icing, 8 left, de-ice area 3. That's the one we have. So, do we need to follow me for that? No, we don't. Okay, 30 knots, idle thrust. Let's see what happens to the speed, whether it is going to increase or decrease. In general, even though they have low visibility operations in progress right now, I think the visibility on the taxiways down here is good enough that we can see anything that's forthcoming. So I'm rather happy to just keep it at that speed. So, do we have a frequency for the de-icers? De-icing north, pad number 3, 121840. So we could already pre-select that, 121840, and switch it active on number 2, as we will definitely need that. Now the de-icers will typically not be aware of our ATC call signs, so you'd either call them something like Lufthansa A321 or by the registration, which is unfortunately missing over here. Okay, so Area 3 North should be right up here. The big question is, why is there no de-icing services anywhere nearby? Come on, GSX. 08 left, de-ice area 3. 1, 2, 3. It should be right here. Okay, tell you what. In that case, request follow me. Let's see where the follow me is going to lead us, and where GSX imagines the de-icing area to be. So, brake set. So, is that follow me coming anywhere? Doesn't exactly look like it, does it? No. Come on, GSX, you have literally one job right now. It surely showed... Oh, there it comes. That took a while. Okay, let's see where that follow me is going to lead us. There it comes. Crashing right, almost right into the nose gear. Now the big question is, where is it eventually gonna go? What are you doing? Well, now at least we know why it took them so long. And they're leaving. For real? GSX. Okay, I tell you what. Revoke follow me. Yes. In that case, let's just taxi to the correct spot on our own, at least where the real spot would be. I kinda hoped we could use GSX for a little bit of realism here, but looks like we got disappointed once again. So... somewhere on the ground, I think there should be a de-icing stop marking. In the real world, you'd have a marshaller guiding you in, but in the real world, you'd see the position of the vehicles as well, so... in any case, we're just gonna stop over here for the time being. And I suppose then we can start with our de-icing procedures. So let's go over here. Packs off. Bleeds off. Ditching push button on. You can go back to auto now, since the probe heat will be on anyway once the engines are started. Okay, so we can cancel all of that good stuff here. And with that, let's see if they at least have a de-icer. Oh yeah. Okay, so request de-icing please. And here they come. So let's see that in progress from the outside. And let's just see, yep. You can go with 100%, please. Okay, treatment in progress, then let's see what's going to happen. Now, de-icing in Munich, there is something we should be aware of. That is, a couple years back, while they've been de-icing an aircraft, but coming from the sides, not parking directly in front of the aircraft, what happened is, instead of pressing the ditching push button that we have just pressed over here, the crew pressed one of the cargo fire extinguishers, shooting the fire bottle into the cargo hold, thereby wrecking all the luggage that was in there. Now, when the crew realized their mistake, they called ATC to ask for a taxi back to the apron. They got the taxi clearance because ATC can't see what's happening over here, and they totally forgot that the de-icing was in progress, and they rammed both de-icers with their wings, and they just flipped them over onto their sides. This crew most definitely had a bad day that day. In any case, for us right now, the de-icing is in progress. You can see the green color tone over here, marking the usage of a Type 4 de-icing fluid, which is the most effective one that is available. And looking at the visual model of the aircraft, we no longer have icing on here, we no longer have icing on the back, so it seems that the de-icing has been successfully completed. So the de-icing itself is complete. Now we should wait for a minute before we can turn the packs and the bleeds on again. And since de-icing is now complete, I am just going to wait with this until we are clear of the actual de-icing area. So let's go ahead into the flight control track. Full up, full down, neutral. Full left, full right, neutral. And the rudder. Full left, full right, neutral. Okay, flaps 2. Trim is set, everything's set over here. Okay, taxi procedures. And we want the flight path weather, please. Okay, taxi checklist. Flight controls, checked. Flap setting, conf 2. Radar and predictive wind shear, on and auto. Engine start selector, none. Ecam memo, takeoff, no blue. Taxi checklist complete. Okay then, let's taxi clear of the de-icing area. And make double sure that there are no more vehicles in front. And now that we're clear of the de-icing area, let's turn on the packs, the bleeds, and turn the ditching push button back off again. Okay, lining up runway 08 left. Cabin crew, prepare for departure. And the packs are coming back off again. So, lights coming on, and let's hold short over here for now. So, transponder, TARA, auto, and on. Very good, lineup checklist. Takeoff runway, 08 left, full length, TCAS, TARA, PAX 1 and 2, off, lineup checklist complete. Since we've just completed the de-icing, we are well within the holdover time. Take off. Manflex 62, SRS, auto thrust blue. Thrust set. .100 knots, checked. The speed also compares nicely with the ground speed, so we can assume our speed indications to be correct. V1. Rotate. Positive climb. Gear up. Nav, checked. Autopilot 1. Not exactly the kind of weather where I do a lot of hand flying, to be honest. So where are you taking us? And back to the left. Interesting. Thrust climb, climb, auto thrust. Flaps 1. Speed checked. Flaps 1. Flaps 0, speed checked. Flaps 0. Okay. And we are clear of the clouds already. Engine anti-ice off. Engine anti-ice is off. Excellent. So that was a good departure. Of course, we had to improvise a little bit on the de-icing procedures, since, well, first of all, GSX didn't really provide us with any realistic means of de-icing there. But in any case, we got it done, and we're up and on the way. Set standard. Standard cross-check, passing level 5.2, now. Checked. Alright. It's just really looking awesome, isn't it? Okay, the 250 restriction lasts until Delta Mike 065, but hey, why not just call for a direct anyway? I think if we go direct to Upala, that'll be just fine. So, Upala, direct, insert. So, nicely established in the climb, and if we just think over our departure procedure again, was there anything major that we messed up? I don't think so. Everyone's still alive, the de-icing equipment can be used again. We didn't have a fume event. And most importantly, we turned the ditching push button back off, and the aircraft is pressurizing normally. That's probably the most important thing of all here. Okay, wonderful. Well then, passing 10,000. Pitch is coming down, very good. So seatbelts auto. Can select the airports on here. For some reason we get TA only. Okay, Tara, here we are. Let's turn VHF2 back to the emergency frequency. And then clear and copy. And last but not least, cruising 360, optimum 367, maximum 376. So I think we are just gonna stay in flight level 360 for the cruise. That seems to be looking very good to me. Alright friends, and with that we are up and in the air, and I'd say we are going to enjoy the flight over this wonderful December weather, and I see you all as we are getting closer to our destination, Oslo. We're slowly getting closer towards the top of descent, and for some reason that's totally beyond me, the aircraft just decided that it wanted to reduce its airspeed, and it reduced so far into the VLS that in order to be able to regain the speed, even with maximum continuous thrust selected, we had to descend 2,000 feet in order to trade some altitude for energy. I really don't know why the airplane is doing these kind of things. The real one most definitely isn't. Maybe a wind shift or something was encountered here. I didn't see it exactly when it started. But nonetheless, we can now go ahead and have a look into our FMS once again, since my efforts to recover those, let's say, problems had the unexpected side problem that when I wanted to update the cruise level to bring it back from descent mode into the cruise mode, I entered the number 1. In the real aircraft, that updates the cruise level to the current level. In the simulated one, unfortunately it set the cruise level down to flight level 001, and therefore deleted all the approach constraints just above it. So we'll have to correct that real quick by re-entering the approach here. So let's do ILS 19 left. We're gonna take the Lunip for mic arrival and insert that one, and that should hopefully restore all of our constraints and give us a much more believable top of descent once again, as we can see over here. Now if we quickly go over into the plan mode, then we can review all the approach constraints we have, and we can also go ahead and select our charts already. So Oslo Gardermoen. Weather at the moment 190 at 13, broken 800 and 8 degrees QNH 1012. And we can already go ahead and select that QNH. Here we go, 1012. Pre-selected. So then let's go ahead and have a look into the stars. We're going to land on 19 left. Arrivals, and we are coming from the southeast, so I guess we will need the east arrivals, but let's go ahead and have a look. Yeah, Lunip for Mike, here it is. Perfect, so we'll keep the east arrivals, and for the approach itself, it will be an ILS approach onto runway 19 left. Last but not least, we also need some airport charts and some parking charts. Well, and with all of that selected, let's go ahead and start checking our arrival. So, coming in from Lunip, which has a 250 knot restriction on here, we're going to proceed onwards to Golf Mike 447. That one is below level 120, 250 knots. Then Golf Mike 426. And from here we are going to fly right on to the point merge arrival. So we've got all the point merge points in here until we eventually end up at Titlar. Now from Titlar we are going to join the final approach to runway 19 left. That's from Titlar towards Ospat. And we've got Titlar, Ospat, 200 knots maximum, and then on towards Xiftat, 3,500, which is where we've got our final descent point. 3-degree glide slope, which we also have in the FMS. At 4 DME we pass 1,970 feet versus 1,960 in the FMS. That's good enough. And in case of go-around, we are going to climb on the runway track until 3 DME, then a left turn heading 102. At 13.5 DME, climb to 5,000. So we've got 3 DME, then 13 DME 3,000, thereafter climb to 5,000, and continue on that track. So that's looking good. We do not need any nav aids for this one. This is a completely RNAV arrival. So, Gardermoen, runway 19 left into our progress page. On the performance page, let's enter the latest data. So, 0.76, 286 knots is okay. In terms of the weather, we've got a QNH of 1012, temperature 8, and the wind 190 at 13. And we just said our minimum is 890 feet. So config 3 is probably a little bit fast. We're gonna stay on config full. And for a single engine go around, 2,700 feet is our MSA. So let's go ahead and use that for the engine out acceleration. 19 minutes extra fuel, secondary flight plan will become runway 19 right. Lunip for Mike and Titler transition, insert. And 419 right, if we have a look at the approach chart. We've got a minimum of 880 feet. Okay, wonderful. The rest is pretty much the same, so we can ignore the rest of this. Now let's go ahead and have a look at our landing roll. So we're landing on 19 left. The runway itself is 2,950 meters long. Now, we can make an easy approximation of our landing distance required. That's with auto brakes low, you need the first two numbers of your gross weight times 3. So we're looking at around 2,100 meters. With auto brake medium, you take the gross weight in tons times 2, so around 1,400 meters. Now, I'd say we are going to go with auto brakes low over here, and then vacate via Bravo 3 onto Sierra, and then taxi to the terminal. Well, and that's this part of the setup. So, are you ready for the approach briefing then? Yes. Lunip for Mike arrival, ILS 19 left, MSA 2,700 on the missed approach area, a little bit higher in the approach area. Going up to, let's have a look at the approach, or at the star chart, 3,900 feet. Extra fuel and time, we have 19 minutes. Perfect, thank you. So, manual approach with flight director guidance and manual thrust. Config full, auto brakes low, idle reverse, vacate to the right, and I don't see any hotspots for the taxi in. Nothing special or non-standard over here, do you have any threats? No? Perfect. So that's our briefing completed. We can do the rest as we are getting closer to our destination and start the approach, so I see you all as we are getting down there. Reaching 10,000. Let's do our 10 checks. So the landing lights are coming on, seatbelts are on, constraints, LS. We have GPS primary and the mode selector is in norm. So far so good. Old star. Cabin crew, prepare for landing. And alt. So, we are entering the point merge arrival right now. A point merge system is one where the aircraft flies on a distance from the usually intermediate approach fix or initial approach fix, in our case from Titler over here, and the aircraft flies in a continuous distance from Titler. The idea is that if you've got any other aircraft that's ahead or behind, air traffic control can easily sequence those planes by giving directs to Titler, and every aircraft on this point merge over here is going to be at the same distance from Titler in case a direct to the waypoint is issued. Now, we are going to put this one to the test just now. Once we reach Golf Mike 422, we are going to get a shortcut directly towards Titler. The altitude restrictions, such as the flight level 90 restriction for this arc over here, are meant or are made in a way that you will easily be able to continue the descent and make your approach profile in time. Namely, the distance from waypoint 422 towards Titler is 19 miles over here, and we have to descend by 4,000 feet from flight level 90 to 5,000 feet down here, therefore bringing us into a comfortable situation. 19 miles for a distance of 4,000 feet makes it very easy to conduct this descent. So, instead of joining the point merge, we are going to take the direct to Titlar just now. So, left turn, direct Titlar, and then we can descend altitude 5,000 feet. And let's check for the latest QNH. 1012. So, set QNH. QNH 1012 cross-check, passing 8,800. Now. Checked. Approach checklist, please. Barrow reference, QNH 1012, seatbelts on, minimum, Barrow 890, auto brake, low, engine start selector, norm, approach checklist complete. So we're now inbound to Titlar, and with that we continue our descent towards an altitude of 5,000, and out of Titlar we are going to join the final for the ILS approach to runway 19 left. Looking outside, the sun is getting rather low already, which is kinda expected seeing that we are in the very high north over here, not all that far south of the Arctic Circle, where at this time of the year the sun would be completely down for the entire day. I really gotta say, the look outside and the proportions of the A321neo are looking really, really good. Builds have delivered us with a beautiful model, and Asobo have delivered us with a beautiful looking simulator to fly this model within. So let's see, progress page. We're 1,000 below the VNAV profile, and it looks like we're actually going to reach 5,000 just prior to Titlar at this rate of descent. Let's go vertical speed here, 700 feet a minute, and then we should hopefully reach 5,000 directly at Titlar, so that we can do a nice and continuous descent on our way down into Oslo. A little bit of a lag over here. So those clouds seem to be very, very low. We can see a couple of wind turbines coming through over here. And believe me, when the clouds are low enough that you see the wind turbines coming through, that's normally a very good indicator that you are going to have a lot of fun during the approach itself. Now, let's go ahead and have a look. Over here, broken 700 feet, still 8 degrees, QNH 1012, but tempo clouds broken 400. And those tempo broken 400 are actually getting rather close to our minimum. If we have a look at the approach chart over here, then we can see that the minimum is just 200 feet above the ground. So the minimum is within 200 feet from the actual cloud base, which is going to make things fun. Okay. Temperature 10, but it's probably gonna get it's probably not gonna get much warmer, so engine anti-ice on. Alright, let's go ahead and have a little bit of fun and hand fly the rest of the flight. Okay, manual flight. Descend. So we're receiving the ident Golf Mike Echo, and according to the chart, Golf Mike Echo is correct. Very, very good. And look at that, there's our wind turbines. Just look at how awesome this looks. Really great. Really, really great. So let's continue the descent to altitude 4,000 feet. We are in managed mode after all, so the aircraft is going to take care that we don't bust any restrictions over here. And now that I just said the aircraft is going to take care that we don't bust any restrictions, have a look at what the aircraft is doing. We just busted the 5,000 restriction at Titla by 100 feet, while being right on the VNAV profile. That's gotta be a little bug. Definitely gonna submit that one to AnyBuilds to fix. Okay, flaps 1. Speed checked. Flaps 1. So, cleared for the ILS, approach armed, Cat 1, glide slope localizer blue. So, 200 knot restriction over at OSPAD. We are going to make sure that we comply with that, and if we have a look at the amount of headwind here, 36 knots, then we can easily maintain that speed until established on the ILS. Alt star. Alt. Block star. Okay, activate approach phase. Here we go. So, 35 knots of crosswind up here. That is certainly going to become a little bit less for our landing. Under most videos where I do some hand flying, I still get questions on how to hand fly the aircraft so precisely, and the answer to that lies in doing minimal inputs. You can see, once I've set my thrust, I'm barely touching it. I'm mostly keeping it exactly where it is, and just watch what the aircraft does, and then do minimal changes in response. So, we've got glide slope star, go around altitude 5,000, set. So they want us to keep a minimum of 160 knots until 4 nautical miles. We will comply with that, of course. The good thing is that the headwind is going to make it really easy for us. So the field elevation is around about 700 feet. Checked. The terrain around the airport is a little bit hilly, so I don't want to rely on the radio altimeter all too much, but also have a look at where the actual field elevation is. It's 700, so at 2,700 feet on the altimeter, we are going to continue to configure the aircraft for landing. Okay, flaps 2. Speed checked. Flaps 2. Gear down. So, looking at the icing probe, there's no ice on the aircraft, so we don't need wing anti-ice here. Flaps 3, speed checked. Flaps 3. Come on, cabin. Here we go, the cabin is ready. And flaps 4, speed checked. Flaps full. Landing checklist. Ecam memo. Landing no blue. Landing checklist complete. Okay, field in sight. Checked, and we are all stable. Look at those little low-lying cloud banks over there. That's really cool, isn't it? So the wind is going to decrease a little bit for landing, but the direction is the same as on the ground already. For scenery we are using Aerosoft / Yo Airland Sunds Oslo Airport, which I have simply copy and pasted from the community folder of my Flight Simulator 2020. Okay, a little bit of turbulence here. Let's make sure we remain on the glide slope. Land.
300. 200. Minimum.
Continue. No, no sync rate.
100.
Speed is checked, correcting.
50, 40, 30. 20. Retard. 10. Retard. Retard. Retard.
Right on the marker. Wonderful. Okay, spoiler, reverse green, decel. $70 knots, manual brakes. Now this was a perfect ILS. This was exactly positioned like in the real world. You fly down on the ILS and you have a little margin to flare until you eventually reach the aiming point and can touch down right on the aiming point. This was a perfectly positioned ILS. Probably the first time I'm seeing this in the world of Microsoft Flight Simulator ever. But this is exactly how it is in the real world most of the time. Wonderful. Just wonderful. Okay, clear left and clear right. We'll take the taxiway to the right. And in the meantime we can start to clean up our aircraft. So, anti-ice is no longer needed over here. Let's go ahead and press the APU master switch already so that the flap can go open. Well, and then after landing checklist. Radar and predictive wind shear off after landing checklist complete. So, this is how landings are fun. Little bit of low-level turbulence that we had to counter, which was very realistic, by the way. My turbulence inside the simulator is set to realistic, and this was exactly how I would expect it to be in the real world as well. So, very, very nicely done. And, well, overall, the approach was really an enjoyable one. Really, really enjoyable. So let's take a moment to talk about our parking gate, as we haven't talked about that just yet. So we are coming in over Juliet, over here, and then Juliet, Bravo, gate number 77. Provided that it is not occupied with any static. Let's find out. 77 is available. Perfect. Follow me, no thanks. Handling by Menzies, because why not? At least that explains all the delay then. And 77 happens to be exactly that gate where the real flight has parked last time as well. So we're approaching 3 minutes after landing. Let's go ahead and start up the APU, and then we can shut down engine number 2 and do the rest as single engine taxi. Always got to keep in mind that we are an A321, 71.5 tons of gross weight at the moment. Okay, APU is starting. So let's brake back down towards 10 knots, go around the corner, and when the APU becomes available, which is now, electric hydraulic pump on, and engine 2 off. A little bit of power on the remaining engine so that we keep moving. The one mistake you must not make is to stop when you are doing single engine taxi. Okay, lights off, radar off, and let's turn into the gates. So, gate 77, the safe dock is coming on. Can we read anything on it yet? No. Well, we can read our simulator freezing up. And it looks like the simulator has actually crashed to desktop. Or is it gonna recover? Let's find out. No, by the looks of it, the simulator has crashed to desktop. Well, that is a pity. Nonetheless, I do hope that you have all enjoyed this flight with us, even though we can probably not shut it down over here. I do hope that you've enjoyed it, and with that out of the way, thank you very much for watching. And here it crashed. So, thank you very much for watching. As always, I hope you liked the video. Be sure to let me know your feedback in the comments below, and I'm very much looking forward to see you all again on the next one.